How many days have you spent waiting for life to change, believing that someday the perfect moment will arrive? But the truth is, waiting is just another way of standing still. While you hesitate, time moves forward silent, relentless, indifferent. Every sunrise is a reminder that the clock doesn't pause for doubt, hesitation, or fear. The question is, will you? In today's video, we'll explore 11 principles that have the power to shift your life or not someday, not in theory, but starting now. These aren't empty promises or fleeting motivation. They are timeless, tested, and rooted in the wisdom of Stoic philosophy. They are the quiet forces that separate those who merely exist from those who truly live. This isn't about dramatic reinvention overnight. It's about small, deliberate actions that accumulate into an unshakable transformation. If you've ever felt like you're watching your own life from the sidelines, waiting for something to change, this is your sign to take control. Are you ready to stop waiting and start becoming? 1. From complaints to control, the power of silent action. Have you ever seen a river trying to push against the rocks? It doesn't waste its energy fighting the obstacles in its way. It flows around them, carving a new path over time. But when you complain, you do the opposite. You push against what is, resist reality, and drain yourself in the process. The problem remains, but now you're exhausted too. The truth is, complaining changes nothing. It tricks you into feeling like you're doing something when, in reality, you're standing still. And while you repeat the same frustrations, life moves forward silent, indifferent, and unbothered by your protests. So why waste another moment stuck in the same cycle? Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish for them to happen as they do, and you will be fine." This isn't about surrender, it's about reclaiming your energy. Complaints keep you locked in frustration. Acceptance frees you to act. And when you act, you shift from being a passive observer of your life to the one directing it. Science supports this too. A Stanford University study found that frequent complaining rewires your brain for negativity, making stress your default response. Each time you voice a complaint, you strengthen the neural pathways that reinforce frustration and helplessness. But the opposite is also true. Replace each complaint with an action, and your brain adapts to that habit instead. Take Sergio Turu, a runner who challenged himself to complete 900 miles in 19 days without a single complaint. No excuses, no dwelling on pain or exhaustion, just movement. Imagine the discipline that requires. But here's the secret. Eliminating complaints doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you unstoppable. Now, let's talk about you. How many times a day do you complain without realizing it? About traffic, work, people, not having enough time. And what does it ever change? Nothing. Here's a better approach. Start small. Do you always say you have no time to work out? Track how many minutes you spend scrolling on your phone in the morning. Cut 10 of them and use that time for your self-stretch. Take a short walk or do a few push-ups. No gym required. Does clutter stress you out? Instead of complaining about the mess, commit to organizing one small space a day. Not the whole house, just a drawer, a shelf, a desk. See how external order shifts your internal state. Is work consuming you? Instead of collapsing onto the couch and numbing yourself with distractions, swap that habit for something that feeds your soul red, something that inspires you. Take a quiet walk, or call a friend for a real conversation. Here's a challenge. For 1 week, every time you catch yourself complaining, write it down. But don't stop there. Next to it, write an action you can take. If you write, "I'm always tired," add, "Tonight, I'll go to bed 30 minutes earlier." If you write, "I never have time," add, "I'll prepare my schedule the night before." Do this, and you'll notice something surprising. You won't need a full week to feel the shift. The moment you stop complaining, you start moving. The moment you take control, life stops feeling like something that happens to you and starts becoming something you shape. Are you ready to step out of the cycle of frustration and into a life of quiet, steady progress? It starts now with you. 2. The freedom of less, clearing space for what matters. Have you ever felt like your life is overflowing, so packed with things, obligations, and endless noise that you can barely breathe? I'm not just talking about physical clutter, but also the mental weight of distractions, unnecessary commitments, and thoughts that never stop racing. Picture this. You come home after a long day. You set down your keys, glance around, and immediately feel the weight of it, all piles of unread emails, a schedule filled with obligations you don't care about, a closet overflowing with clothes you never wear. It's as if every object, every task, every expectation is slowly closing in on you, like vines wrapping tighter around your freedom. This isn't just inconvenience, it's a barrier to clarity, focus, and peace of mind. The more you accumulate, the less space you have for what truly matters. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. To them, excess wasn't just about possessions, it was a distraction from what is real. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius lived today. His day would start with a flood of notifications, back-to-back meetings, and a never-ending to-do list. Then he'd come home to more noise-cluttered rooms, unanswered messages, social obligations that drain rather than fulfill. Would he feel at peace? Of course not. And that's the reality for most of us. So, what would he do? He'd strip away everything that doesn't serve his purpose, his serenity, his deeper sense of self. He'd live deliberately, choosing what deserves space in his life. That's exactly what I invite you to do today. A lot of people think that living with less means sacrificing. But it's not about loss, it's about gain. When you remove what's unnecessary, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your mental clarity. I learned this firsthand when I took inspiration from Fumio Sasaki, a minimalist who simplified his life to the essentials. His philosophy? When you have less, you value more. And he's right. When I started removing things I didn't need, I noticed something unexpected. The clutter in my mind cleared along with it. So where do you start? First, begin with something tangible. Look at your surroundings, that drawer filled with things you never use, that closet stuffed with clothes you forgot you had. Pick one area, clear it out, and see how it feels. The goal isn't to create an empty space, it's to make room for what truly matters. Next, simplify a commitment. We all have the automatic habit of saying yes to things that don't serve us. But ask yourself, what am I holding on to that is weighing me down? Maybe it's a meeting that could have been an email, a social event that leaves you drained, or a habit that no longer aligns with your goals. Today, cut one thing that doesn't add value to your life. And finally, what about your thoughts? How often do you stress over things beyond your control? Here's a challenge. Take just 5 minutes today to sit in silence, no phone, no distractions, just breathing. Let your mind settle. In those 5 minutes, you'll realize something powerful. Space isn't just about what you remove, but about what you allow in. Because at the end of the day, you are not defined by what you accumulate, you are defined by what you choose to keep. Every unnecessary thing you let go of is a step toward a lighter, freer, and more intentional life. Are you ready to take that step today? Because trust me, living with less doesn't take anything away from you, it gives you everything back. 3. The quiet power of gratitude. Let me tell you a story. A few months ago, Juan felt like his life was unraveling. Work was overwhelming, his home felt tense, and nothing seemed to go his way. Every day, he found something new to complain about, something else that wasn't enough. Until one evening, a friend gave him a simple challenge. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every morning. At first, Juan scoffed. Grateful for what? His problems hadn't magically disappeared overnight. But his friend kept insisting, so one morning, Juan gave in. He grabbed a piece of paper and scribbled down the first thing that came to mind. I'm grateful for my health. It wasn't profound, but it was a start. And then something interesting happened. That same day, he noticed small things he had always overlooked, the way his co-worker smiled when they spoke, the warmth of the sun as he walked to his car. The problems were still there, but for the first time in a long time, they weren't the only thing he saw. Juan's story isn't unique. Science backs this up. A study from the University of California found that practicing gratitude increases happiness and reduces stress. And it doesn't take grand gestures. Just a few minutes a day rewires your brain to focus on what you have instead of what you lack. The Stoics knew this long before modern science confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in difficult moments, there is something to appreciate. But gratitude isn't just an emotion, it's a habit, a discipline. One, if practiced daily, has the power to shift your entire perspective. And I know what you're thinking. I barely have time to keep up with my life. How am I supposed to add one more thing? I'm not asking you to spend an hour meditating on your blessings. I'm asking for 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Here's how you start. Each morning, before reaching for your phone, say out loud one thing you're grateful for, something small, something real. Maybe it's your first sip of coffee, the sound of rain outside, or simply the fact that you woke up today. Then, at night, before you go to bed, write down 2 things that made you smile that day. A kind word from a stranger, a moment of silence you enjoyed, a meal that nourished you. Feel it as you write it. It might seem insignificant, but this practice changes everything. From the very first day, your mind begins to shift. You stop focusing on what's missing and start seeing what's already there. Gratitude won't erase your problems, but it will give you the strength to face them differently. And that shift, that quiet but powerful shift, can begin right now. So tell me, what's one thing you're grateful for today? Write it down, say it out loud, or better yet, share it. Because when gratitude becomes a habit, everything begins to change. Gratitude is a simple habit, but its impact is life-changing. So now, I want to hear from you. What is one thing you're grateful for today? Share it in the comments, no matter how big or small. And if you're new here, comment, "I am a newbie," so we can welcome you. If you've been on this Stoic path for a while, comment, "I am a Stoic," and let's continue growing together. Your words might just inspire someone else today. 4. Mastering your energy. Work with it, not against it. You've been there. The day starts with an endless to-do list. responsibilities piling up like waves crashing one after another. You push through, staring at the screen, shuffling between tasks, yet somehow, by the end of the day, you've barely made a dent. Then, when night falls and you should be winding down, something strange happens. Your mind sharpens, ideas flow, and suddenly you're wide awake with the clarity that eluded you all day. This isn't a motivation problem. It's not about willpower. It's about energy. Most people treat energy like an infinite resource, expecting themselves to perform at the same level all day long. But you are not a machine. If you force yourself to work when your energy is low, you're fighting against your own nature. It's like pushing a locked door with all your strength instead of finding the key. The key to transforming your productivity isn't working harder, it's working smarter, by aligning your tasks with your natural energy peaks. When you stop fighting against yourself and learn to flow with your energy, everything changes. It's like rowing with the current instead of against it. But here's the mistake most people make. They follow schedules dictated by society, not by their own rhythms. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that our cognitive performance is deeply tied to our circadian rhythms. But here's the catch: not everyone's rhythms are the same. Some people thrive in the morning. Their minds are sharpest at dawn, fueled by the quiet and clarity of a new day. Others don't hit their stride until evening, when the world quiets down and their creativity comes alive. So, which one are you? That's the first thing you need to figure out. If you're a morning person, guard your early hours like sacred ground. Use them for deep work, creative projects, and problem solving. If you come alive at night, don't fight it. Reserve your peak hours for your most important work. Once you understand your natural rhythm, protect that time. Don't waste it on emails, social media, or trivial tasks. If mornings are your power hours, use them to build, write, strategize. Leave administrative tasks for when your energy dips. If night is your zone, don't spend it on distractions. Channel that time into what truly matters. And here's a lesson most people overlook. Rest is not a weakness, it's a strategy. If you force yourself to work when your energy is depleted, all you'll achieve is frustration. Instead, take intentional break, step away, stretch, breathe, go for a 5-minute walk. Your mind resets, your focus sharpens, and you return ready to perform at your best. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do every act as if it were the last act of your life." That doesn't mean work endlessly. It means give your full attention to what matters, but at the right time. Imagine how your life would change if, starting today, you structured your tasks around your energy instead of an arbitrary schedule. The difference would be profound. Instead of feeling drained, you'd feel momentum. Instead of spinning in circles, you'd see results. So stop pushing the door that won't budge. Move with your energy, and you'll discover that, in just one day, time expands sand, so does your potential. 5. Own your life. No one is coming to save you. There's an old story about a man who fell into a deep pit. He shouted for help, blaming everything: the pit for being there, the sun for not shining bright enough, his worn-out shoes for making him slip. But as time passed and no one came, he was left with one harsh truth. No one was coming to pull him out. If he wanted to escape, he'd have to stop blaming and start climbing. Sound familiar? Maybe you haven't fallen into a literal hole, but every time you blame others for where you are, it's like staying stuck in that pit. Your job makes you miserable? It's my boss's fault. Your relationship feels distant. They just don't understand me. You're overwhelmed with life? The world is unfair. And just like that, piece by piece, you hand over control of your life to everything and everyone else. But let me tell you this, that kind of story has no hero. It's just someone waiting. And waiting never changes anything. Here's a truth that might be hard to hear. Your circumstances are the result of your decisions. But don't panic, that's not a punishment. It's power. Because if your choices got you here, your choices can also get you out. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it perfectly. Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him. Tough situations don't define you, they show who you are and how you choose to respond. Do you keep waiting for someone to fix things for you? Or do you take responsibility and start climbing? So, how do you take charge of your life today? Stop looking for someone to blame. The next time you face a problem, don't ask, whose fault is this? Instead ask, what can I do to change this? That shift alone is life-changing. Take one action that's completely yours. Unhappy with your finances? Write down one unnecessary expense and cut it today. Feeling disconnected from someone? Don't wait, be the one to reach out. The key is to act, not wait. Align your life with your values. If health is important to you but you've been neglecting it, start today. Take a 20-minute walk. Eat something nourishing. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be intentional. Here's the difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck. The ones who move forward stop waiting for a rescue. They choose to act. So now I ask you, are you going to keep making excuses, or are you going to start choosing your life? You don't have to fix everything in one day, but you can start today. And that first step, no matter how small, changes everything. Think better, act better, and start climbing today. 6. Stop waiting. Start moving now. How many times have you said, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start when the time is right, only to let days, weeks, sometimes even years slip by? That uncomfortable conversation you've been meaning to have, that goal you keep putting off, that decision that lingers in your mind, unfinished. We convince ourselves we're waiting for the perfect moment. But let me tell you something, that moment doesn't exist. Picture this. You've felt for weeks that something in your relationship isn't right. Every day, you promise yourself, I'll bring it up tonight. But then dinner comes and you think, I don't want to ruin the evening, today is not the day. And so, the cycle repeats. Spoiler alert, that day never comes. Entrepreneur Alex Hormozi said it best. Someday is not a date on the calendar. If you don't do it today, you'll never do it. Why? Because there will always be an excuse, always a reason to wait. But while you hesitate, others move forward. The day you remove someday from your vocabulary is the day your life begins to change. And trust me, I know, because I've lived it. I remember watching that same video from Hormozi and deciding to apply it to my own life. That very day I stopped waiting. I took action on something I had been avoiding for months. Was it scary? Absolutely. But that small step triggered a chain reaction, and suddenly, momentum was on my side. That's why I'm here telling you, do it now. Not later. Now. Because life doesn't wait. Marcus Aurelius once said, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death is on your heels. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. In other words, stop waiting. Act now. Time is slipping through your fingers, whether you use it or not. And I know what you're thinking, but it's not that easy. And you're right. The hard part isn't knowing what to do, it's taking the first step. The first step is terrifying because it carries the weight of the unknown. That conversation you're avoiding feels overwhelming because you don't know how it will go. That overdue workout feels impossible because you know it will be tough. But here's the truth. If you wait until you're not afraid, you'll never do it. So, how do you start making things happen today? Pick one thing you've been putting off. Don't tell yourself there isn't one. That phone call, that habit, that decision, write it down. Right now. Eliminate the word someday. It doesn't exist. It's not real. The next time you catch yourself saying, "I'll do it someday," stop. Replace it with, "I'll do it today." Take one small step. Just one. Even the smallest action breaks the cycle of hesitation. And that first step, it changes everything. Because here's the hard truth. Not making a decision is still a decision. It's choosing to stay the same. So I'll ask you this, is that what you want? Do you want to keep circling the same path, waiting for a day that never comes? The difference between those who achieve something and those who don't isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's simple. Some act, others wait. So, which one will you be? The choice is yours, and it starts now. 7. Turn your challenges into teachers. Imagine this. You're sitting alone in a quiet room when the door creaks open. A figure walks in stern, unshaken, carrying a thick book under their arm. They sit across from you, flipping through the pages, and then, without hesitation, they begin listing your mistakes, your fears, your failures. It's uncomfortable, it's infuriating. You want to argue, to deny, to walk away. Why is this happening? Why now? That figure, that's your challenge, and it's not here to destroy you. It's here to teach you. Challenges don't come dressed as friendly mentors. They don't greet you with a smile or a gentle lesson wrapped in kindness. They come as tests, as trials, as moments that shake you to your core. And yet, they are the greatest teachers you will ever have. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Life blindsides you with a problem, and your first instinct is to resist. Maybe you lost a job, ended a relationship, or failed at something you worked hard for. You fight against reality, wishing things were different, as if frustration alone could change the outcome. But it never does. All it does is drain you. What if, instead of resisting your challenges, you chose to use them? What if, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" Seneca understood this deeply. He didn't run from hardship, he learned from it. As he said, "A man should not fear adversity, for it is through adversity that he discovers what he is capable of." Think about it. If everything were easy, you would never grow. Challenges don't just test you, they reveal you. And more importantly, they show you who you can become. Every difficulty is a chance to build discipline, patience, and resilience. That's what transforms you. Now, let me challenge you. Think of something you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be a life-altering crisis. Maybe it's an unresolved argument, a financial issue, or a difficult conversation. Got it? Good. Now, ask yourself, what lesson is this trying to teach me? Take one bold step. Not everything needs to be fixed in one day, but every challenge requires a starting point. If it's a financial problem, open your bank app right now and track your last 5 expenses. If it's an argument, send that message and open the door for resolution. One action, small but decisive. Acknowledge your progress. After facing your challenge, pause and reflect. What did I gain from this? Maybe you didn't solve everything, but you proved something to yourself you didn't run. That alone makes you stronger. Here's why this can change your life in a single day. When you stop avoiding challenges, you break a pattern. You shift from being someone who dodges problems to someone who faces them. Today, it might be a conversation. Tomorrow, it might be a major life decision. But each time, you are training yourself to rise rather than retreat. Most people see challenges as the end of the road, but you're not most people. I know this because I've lived it. And here's the truth I've learned from experience. You can't stop problems from showing up, but you can choose how you respond to them. And when you start seeing challenges as allies rather than enemies, the world changes. Obstacles stop being barriers, they become tools for growth. That shift, that new perspective, is what transforms everything. Yes, even in a single day. 8. The power of looking in the mirror. Daily reflection. My friend, I need to share something personal with you, something I once struggled to admit to myself. There was a time in my life when I couldn't stand who I was. I didn't like how I acted, how I looked, or how I spoke to myself. Every mistake felt like proof that I wasn't enough. Instead of trying to understand why I felt that way, I just kept moving forward on autopilot, hoping it would somehow fix itself. But it didn't. The guilt, frustration, and self-doubt only piled up. Then, one day, I tried something different. I gave myself 5 minutes at the end of each night, just 5 to reflect. I started writing down 3 simple things. What did I do well today? What didn't go as planned? What can I do differently tomorrow? At first, it felt pointless, like I was talking to someone who didn't want to listen. But over time, something changed. I started noticing patterns. I realized not everything I did was wrong. Some things, 7 small ones, were worth celebrating. Reflection helped me make sense of myself. It gave me clarity. And most importantly, it helped me make better decisions. Let's be clear. Daily reflection isn't about writing an essay or sitting in deep thought for hours. It's about taking a moment, no filters, no excuse to pause and truly see yourself. This isn't just a modern self-help trick. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. His reflections, which we now know as meditations, weren't meant to impress anyone. He wrote for himself to process his day, correct his course, and prepare for the next. It was his way of tidying up his mind before he rested. And that's exactly what reflection does. It clears the mental clutter so you can move forward with intention. The Japanese embrace a similar idea with the concept of koa, balance, and harmony. Akemi Tanaka, an author on Japanese philosophy, explains that reflection helps you see how your actions and emotions fit into your life, like adjusting the pieces of a puzzle. After all, if you never stop to think, how can you expect to change anything? Daily reflection is where you take control, where you align what you do with what you truly want. But don't treat this like a chore. This is your moment, your chance to pause, adjust, and grow. Here's what I suggest. Starting tonight, take just 5 minutes. Grab a notebook, a piece of paper, or your phone's notes app. Write down what you did well, no matter how small. Maybe you had a difficult conversation or followed through on a promise to yourself. Acknowledge it. Then write down what didn't go as planned. Not as a way to punish yourself, but to understand. Ask, why did this happen? What can I do differently tomorrow? The goal isn't self-criticism, it's self-awareness. Why can this change your life in just one day? Because reflection is where growth begins. It's where you stop running, face yourself, and start moving forward with clarity. When you understand yourself, you make better choices. And when you make better choices, your life improves. It's simple, it's powerful, and it starts tonight. 9. The shortcut to growth. Learning from those who came before you. Have you ever felt like you're walking in the dark? Unsure if you're even heading in the right direction? You want to grow maybe in your career, your personal life, or in building something meaningful, but you don't know where to start. You try, you struggle, you make mistakes, and yet it feels like you're just stumbling forward, hoping to find your way. But here's the real question. Why struggle alone when others have already walked this path before you? Let me tell you a story. Before Warren Buffett became one of the greatest investors in history, he was just another young man trying to figure things out. He had ambition, he had intelligence, but he lacked direction. That changed when he found his mentor, Benjamin Graham. Graham didn't just teach him about investing, he transformed the way Buffett saw the world. He taught him to control his emotions, focus on sound principles, and think long-term. Without Graham's guidance, Buffett might never have become the Oracle of Omaha. And he's not the only one. Do you think Marcus Aurelius became the wise emperor we admire today without someone guiding him? Of course not. His mentor, Junius Rusticus, was the one who taught him discipline, self-reflection, and emotional control. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius himself acknowledges that without Rusticus, he might never have embraced philosophy as his guide for life. Here's the truth. A good mentor doesn't tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to know. They challenge you, open your eyes, and show you things you can't yet see on your own. So, how do you find a mentor? Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to track down a billionaire or beg someone famous for their time. Start here. Identify the area where you need guidance. You can't improve everything at once. Be honest, what part of your life do you want to transform? Your career, your mindset, your health? Look for someone who's already where you want to be. They don't have to be someone you know personally. It could be an author whose work has impacted you, an expert you follow, or even someone in your circle who has achieved what you're aiming for. Observe how they think, how they act, and learn from their experiences. Be a good learner. If you have the chance to ask them questions, do it. But most importantly, apply what they teach you. A mentor is useless if their lessons stay in your notebook instead of your actions. I'm telling you this from experience. Having someone to guide you doesn't just accelerate your growth, it saves you years of mistakes and wasted effort. A good mentor is like a flashlight in the dark. They won't carry you to the destination, but they'll light the way so you can get there faster, with fewer missteps. Yes, you can figure it all out on your own, but it will take longer, it will be harder, and you'll make more mistakes than necessary. A mentor won't walk the path for you, but they'll show you where to step. Can you think of anything more transformative than that? 10. Set goals that build you, not just impress others. Do you know what's sad about most goals people set? They aren't truly theirs. They're borrowed from society, from family, from social media. They chase more money because that's what they're supposed to do. They sculpt the perfect body because they think that's what happiness looks like. They buy things they don't need, hoping it will make them feel like they've made it. But here's an uncomfortable truth. Hollow goals won't fulfill you. They won't transform you. It's like building a house and focusing only on the exterior perfect paint, a pristine garden, glowing lights. But if the foundation is weak, the first storm will bring it all crashing down. The same thing happens with your goals. If you chase external success without a strong internal foundation, you'll always feel empty. That's why your goals need to matter to you. They should build who you are on the inside, not just create an illusion for the outside world. A Stoic would see it this way. Goals aren't about proving something to others, they're about shaping yourself. Virtues like discipline, doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard, and wisdom, making choices that truly serve you, are worth more than any external success. As Seneca put it, if you don't know to which port you're sailing, no wind will be favorable. So let me ask you, how do you want to step into your future? On autopilot, drifting aimlessly, or with clear purpose, knowing exactly what you're building and why? If you're tired of setting meaningless goals that go nowhere, it's time to get smart literally. This method ensures your goals are not just clever, but actually transformative. Let's break it down. S for specific. Vague goals won't cut it. Don't say, I want to get in shape. Be clear, I will train 3 days a week for 30 minutes. Without specificity, you're just shooting arrows in the dark. M for measurable. If you can't track it, you can't improve it. Don't say, I'll save more money. Say, I will save $100 a month by cutting 2 unnecessary expenses. Progress needs to be visible. If you can't measure it, you won't stay motivated. A for achievable. Ambition is great, but unrealistic goals lead to frustration. If you haven't read a book in years, don't set a goal to read 20 in a month. Start small. I'll read 10 pages every night before bed. Progress, no matter how small, moves you forward. R for relevant. This is where Stoicism comes in focus on what truly matters. Ask yourself, why do I want this? Don't chase a goal just to impress others. Choose goals that build something meaningful within you. Don't train just to look good, train to become disciplined, strong, and healthy. T for time-bound. Give your goal a deadline. Without one, you'll keep pushing it off. Don't say, I'll start someday. Say, I'll start tomorrow. Deadlines create urgency. Urgency gets you moving. When I started applying this, I realized something. It's not about checking things off a list, it's about becoming more disciplined, more intentional and stronger. And that's what truly transforms your life. So don't wait. Grab a pen and paper, write down one goal that actually matters to you, and most importantly, take the first step today. Share in the comments, what goal are you setting? Because we want to see this new version of you. 11. The legacy you leave behind. How will you be remembered? My friend, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what will remain of you when you're no longer here? I'm not talking about wealth, possessions, or job titles. I mean the imprint you leave on people, the impact of your actions, the kindness you've shared, the wisdom you've passed on. Society is like a vast tapestry, and each of us is a thread. If one thread breaks, the fabric weakens. But when each thread fulfills its role, the whole structure becomes stronger. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, what does not benefit the hive does not benefit the bee. And here's the most beautiful part, it works both ways. When you focus on leaving a positive mark on others, you don't just help the world, you help yourself. You become stronger, more fulfilled, more connected to something greater than yourself. The emptiness fades, replaced by purpose. Let me share a story that proves this. A young economist once saw a devastating problem. Millions of people were trapped in poverty, unable to break free because no one would lend them even a small amount of money to start a business or survive a difficult time. That man, Muhammad Yunus, didn't just complain, he acted. He started lending tiny amounts to poor women in Bangladesh. At first, People laughed at the idea. How will they ever pay it back? But Eunice believed in something deeper, the strength of community and the human will to improve. He was right. Those small loans changed millions of lives and sparked a global movement. Here's the lesson. Eunice didn't just transform others, she transformed himself. Because when you live for something beyond yourself, when you strive to leave a mark, you grow too. So how do you start? You don't need to change the world overnight. You just need to do something today. Share your talents. We all have something to offer: knowledge, time, skills. Can you cook? Teach someone a recipe. Are you a good listener? Give your time to a friend who needs it. Your gifts are meant to be shared. Give without expecting anything in return. Help a colleague, offer sincere advice, or simply listen to someone who's struggling. Small acts of generosity create ripples that reach further than you imagine. The world doesn't need perfect heroes. It needs people who do what they can, where they are, with what they have. So, I ask you, what can you do today to leave your mark? Don't wait until tomorrow, because even the smallest sincere action doesn't just change someone else's life, it changes yours too. This is where true transformation begins. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today, I start transforming my life." That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you never miss what's coming next. Check out the playlist on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.